Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Fulcrum Group's webinar, 10 Steps to User Experience Success, Microsoft Office 365. I'm David Johnson, Vice President of Sales and Marketing for the Fulcrum Group. This morning, we will discuss 10 key steps you can take to make your migration to Office 365 a resounding success. Everyone will be muted, so if you have questions, please submit them via chat, and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. So let's go ahead and get started. The cloud is here now. More and more business applications are moving to the cloud and taking their clients with them. By 2017, Gartner estimates that 33% of all users will be on cloud-based business office systems like Office 365. Are you considering such a migration? If so, you aren't alone. Large and small businesses alike are taking part in the transition from critical on-premises applications to cloud-based SaaS applications. SaaS stands for Software as a Service. And there are some compelling reasons. Cloud applications offer improved efficiency, greater ease of use, and better access to user data, all while being more cost-effective than traditional on-premises applications. Cloud SaaS applications also offer tremendous benefits but can be complex and introduce challenges your team is unfamiliar with. These challenges can lead to a poor user experience and a potential business slowdown or interruption. This webinar will help you understand, plan, and optimize your migration to combat these challenges and deliver a successful Office 365 user experience in the cloud. Communicate before the migration starts. Communicating the value of Office 365 to your organization before beginning the migration is a challenge in itself. There are a lot of potential cons to combat, such as recurring subscription fees, less flexibility in configurations and customizations, SharePoint and Exchange Online capacity limits, and data security concerns in the cloud. And though there are cons, there are also compelling pros that outweigh them. Office 365 has recurring monthly fees or annual fees, and it is more cost-effective than an on-premises version. Even though there are capacity limitations with Exchange in the cloud, similar capacity limits exist for Exchange on-premises. For on-premise Exchange and SharePoint systems, there are many hidden costs of maintaining, updating, and troubleshooting servers, performing and maintaining backups, and building out a highly available environment through redundant servers, power, cooling, and internet. As such, there are many benefits to moving to the cloud, including no hidden costs, included updates, maintenance, and backups, as well as accessibility, mobility, collaboration and communication, scalability, and stability. Understand and ensure the strength of your connections. Before beginning your migration, you need to ensure the internet foundation you plan to run Office 365 on is robust and can withstand the connectivity and bandwidth necessary to deliver critical cloud applications to your end users. Consider these basics to understand if your foundation and connections are solid. Bandwidth and connectivity. Is the Office 365 service available to all of your users in all of your locations? Before migrating to Office 365, ensure you have access to servers through all layers of network security to ensure they are accessible to all users at all locations. Are your network provider and internet service provider delivering what you need and what you pay for? Is your internet service provider meeting the performance service level agreements tied to existing applications? Ensure you get what you paid for by viewing how much bandwidth is in use and how much is available at any time. You can reach out to your internet service provider and ask for reports showing bandwidth, availability, and usage. Additionally, to ensure successful end-user experience for any SaaS application running on the network, you should have visibility into the end-to-end network performance to identify congestion and network faults. Data loss, latency, and round-trip time. Do you currently experience any data loss? Any level of data loss can make your application hard to use, but more than 4% data loss could even render the application completely unusable. Make sure to get data loss in check before transitioning Office to the cloud to ensure that you don't have any angry colleagues at your desk after launch. Is your latency above or below 40 milliseconds across the continental US for your existing SaaS applications? What about round-trip time? One figure to manage closely for optimal SaaS user experience is the latency, or the one-way time from your office to a given SaaS provider. Another to consider is round-trip time, the amount of time needed for your connection to go from your office to the SaaS provider and back. Once you ensure latency is below 40 milliseconds, you can be sure to choose a host location closest to the majority of your end users. Additionally, ensure that the round-trip time is roughly double your latency. Any increase from these two times latency indicates performance issues with the responding server. Important tip: if an internet bandwidth upgrade is needed, make sure to allow sufficient time for the upgrade to be completed prior to taking on an Office 365 migration. Understand who consumes what. Laying the groundwork for Office 365 includes getting a clear view of who does what on your network. Are there still users on older versions of Office? Users of older Office software versions could introduce new challenges to your migration. What special considerations do you have to keep in mind for those users? More importantly, you need to understand who is using which existing third-party SaaS applications and why. It's also smart to consider how you will handle file shares and what, if any, of that data gets moved to the cloud. Cloud file sharing introduces new security and compliance risks, such as data leakage, that have to be addressed before the migration can occur. Users may also have the need for advanced features like email encryption, compliant archiving, or PSTN conference calling. Understand existing SaaS and cloud application performance. Once you have identified what applications are in use across your organization and which ones are critical, you need to understand how these apps are currently performing. Do they have enough bandwidth, or do they struggle to compete with bandwidth from other less critical applications? It's a good idea to touch base with a cross-section of your end users, from executives to managers to typical office employees, to traveling and remote users. Get their feedback on SaaS application performance. Are there any specific days or times when performance is especially slow? Are there any current limitations or scenarios that users are aware of, such as performance issues when multiple SaaS applications are being used? Minimize Office 365 migration impact on your critical applications. As much as you want your Office 365 migration to be successful and high performing, you have to consider the performance of other existing critical applications. Do you have enough bandwidth for all of your business critical SaaS applications? As your workforce relies on a smooth Office 365 transition, they also rely on other SaaS applications that may be just as critical to their particular department's needs. On average, small businesses utilize more than a dozen SaaS applications. IDC forecasted that 80% of new technology will be purchased by non-IT business managers for their teams. From HR to marketing, finance to sales, departments across organizations are deploying and relying on business critical SaaS applications. Having a view into what you're running and classifying the critical business applications before migration can ensure a good user experience for not only Office 365, but also other business critical applications as well. Plan for email archiving. When migrating to Office 365, email archives are often thought as an afterthought. They shouldn't be. Most people underestimate how complicated it is to migrate or even maintain existing email archives. Problems include archive tools that are not compatible with Office 365, wasting money migrating archives to the cloud, and delayed user access to the archives. The good news is that you do have some options with tackling these problems. When your existing archives do not work well with Office 365, you can keep them on premises and maintain a hybrid environment. You can also choose Office 365 Enterprise plans that include archiving. Please note it's a higher cost that will provide you with automated archiving functionality. If you don't plan for email archiving migration, your workforce may experience delays in accessing their archives. How long can your workforce go without their archives? That answer will dictate your email archive approach during migration. Bottom line, make sure to include email archive migration in your planning. Run a lab test, but remember the limitations. Many organizations decide to set up a lab environment with a test Office 365 migration. Unfortunately, a test environment cannot mimic a production environment with the same internet connections, traffic, mailbox volume, and servers with layers of policies and proxies applied to them. So remember, lab testing is just a test. If you do run a test to run through the steps in the migration, don't expect the same results or timeline for the actual migration in production. Testing can help you verify functionality, but may not give you a true understanding of performance. Confirm adoption of Office 365. Once your migration is over and Office 365 is up and running, there are a few more steps to consider for optimal user performance. Have all users downloaded Office 365 desktop software? Are all users migrated to Office 365 hosted Exchange email? Which users are using Office 365 mobile apps? Are users using Skype for Business for instant messaging and web meetings? What about other Office 365 apps? Which users need more training? Are there additional features and applications that are included in Office 365 but not currently used? Typically, we recommend rolling out Office 365 in phases. Phase 1 would be the basic Office 365 deployment, your Office desktop software, and Office 365 hosted Exchange email migration. Phase 2 would typically be a small subset of additional apps, usually Skype for Business and possibly SharePoint Online. Remember, very few organizations take advantage of all of Office 365's features and applications. So don't feel too bad if your adoption is going slower than you'd like. Explore user experience in the cloud. Okay, you've deployed and migrated to Office 365. You also have a great sense of who has adopted it and who hasn't, but maybe you don't know why adoption for certain users or department has been slow. Maybe there's a technical reason why certain departments are not adopting Office 365 as readily as others. For example, Office 365 may be accessible by your finance team, but their user experience may be poor due to performance issues. As a result, their adoption rate is low. Their finance SaaS applications may not be able to run in parallel with Office 365 without encountering performance issues. Alternately, maybe it's a network issue at the finance team's remote office. Or users may simply need more training to fully use the applications. To understand the dynamics of what's going on from the user's perspective across different applications, departments, and offices, you should keep in touch with end users and gain their feedback on a regular basis. Prepare for the road ahead. You are now up and running with Office 365 and have done your best to provide a great user experience for your entire organization. Now what? Keep your knowledge level high when it comes to Office 365, as Microsoft frequently deploys new features and applications for Office 365, often at no extra cost. In addition, existing features and applications are often improved. Continuing education for Office 365 applications can be a great investment as well, allowing your users to stay productive. And networking with your peers to see how they utilize Office 365 in their organizations can be very enlightening. You might even learn a thing or two. And here's a quick reminder of the various Office 365 plans. Office 365 is available as both monthly and annual subscriptions and is licensed on a per-user basis. As a general rule, each user may install Office 365 desktop software on up to 5 computers, Windows or Mac, plus Office 365 mobile software on up to 5 mobile devices, tablets or phones. Those are both Android and iPhone, as well as Microsoft Windows Mobile. Small business plans work well for many organizations, but if you need advanced features like email archiving, encryption, or compliance, then enterprise plans are probably your best bet. That concludes our webinar today. Let's see if we have any questions to answer and that are received in via chat, and then we will answer those questions.